Not so long ago, I read something and it stopped me in my tracks. It said, if you are a card-carrying human being, you share the same fears as everyone else of losing love and connection to others. Well, after I got over my fear of not remembering where I had put my human card, I couldn't find it in my wallet along with all those other cards that were stuffed in there. I thought about it, and I found myself agreeing. When I think about the moments in my life when fear was so intense that it crossed over the threshold to dread, and when I think about the moments, and I know they've happened in your lives too, that's what's at the heart of it, isn't it? The fear of deep loss. The thought or reality of losing love in connection is where deep, deep fear often lies. You felt it, haven't you? That drop, kick, not sure how you can breathe, not sure how you can stand, not sure how you can live, fear that comes when you think something that is happening that will break your heart, or maybe it does break your heart, and yet it keeps beating. You felt it. The fear of standing toe to toe with a fire-breathing dragon. Fear so intense it burns. I've felt it. I felt it when my phone rang at 7 a.m. Now, in my world, phones ringing before 7 a.m. and after 11 p.m. are never a good thing. The phone rang, and I moved to pick it up. I stared at it, as if to see in it some hint of what was coming. I gulped, trying to breathe normally, trying to ignore the sudden knot in my gut, and I wiped the sweat off my palms, and I answered the phone. This has happened to me more than once, and I confess that on a few occasions I have been less than gracious with the early rising wrong number dialing person on the other end. But on some occasions, I've heard and seen myself as if I were separate from myself. I've seen myself nod, pupils dilated. I've heard myself whisper, "Oh God, no," or "What can I do?" or "Where?" This fear is the one that comes with being human. The fear that is guaranteed, there in fine print on the back of your human card. Have you felt it? Fear is at times so painful that we assume it's undesirable. Self-help books are full of advice on this. People are making big money telling us that fear is a bad thing. Platitudes about fear are quick to remind us that fear is, at its core, a human weakness. Here's just two I came across. First one, what you believe is very powerful. If you have toxic emotions of fear, guilt, and depressions, it is because you have wrong thinking. And another one, I've erased the word fear from my vocabulary, and I think when you erase fear, you can't fail. That's simple, right? Just stop being afraid and you'll be a winner. If you are afraid, it's proof that you're flawed. There are authors and gurus and bloggers who are happier to tell us that fear is our fault than they are to tell us how to live with it. If only people, if only we were smart enough or motivated enough or self-actualized enough, we'd let go of fear and it would just like a child's soap bubble pop and go away. Yet, when we can get past all that self-help hype and take a longer view of human and pre-human history, we can conclude that fear is not necessarily a bad thing. Fear of a saber-toothed tiger seems to me to have been quite reasonable and quite adaptable. Being frightened of the things that go bump in the night when those things are eyeing you up as a potential dinner seems smart, not weak. Fear of loss when life is fragile and tentative and when we need other people on our side, and when our chances of survival are better when we're together, seems to me to be a far cry from being wrong-headed. To survive, our species has relied on fear. Our species has needed it to help us assess the strange and the unknown. Old maps sometimes had dragons drawn on the edge of them to warn travelers of the dangers of stepping into unknown lands. Fire-breathing, flying reptiles were symbol of the dangers found on the edge of the known, as if we really needed the warning. Dragons or not, traveling to strange places wasn't something that was easily or lightly done. Fear has, through human history, and heck, through my history, been a helpful companion. Fear has helped me to understand when those waves were too high, when the road was too icy, that a particular illness needed attention, and that not all dragons are mythical. Fear has helped keep me safe, and it's helped keep my family safe. Fear, I can't help but conclude, does get a bad rap. But, if I let fear be my first teacher, the loudest voice all the time, I'd be in trouble. Sure, I might be alive, but I'd almost certainly be in trouble. How could you dare to get out of bed? If I let fear have its way, both of my daughters, now fully adult, might still be safely locked in the basement, kept away from the real and imagined dangers in this mother's imagination. If fear were the only guidance system, I wonder if I would have ever learned to drive, if I'd ever have applied to go to school, to apply for a new job, to embark on the road to ministry, or even to love. Because all of those things, each decision I've ever made to engage with life, while not made hastily or with abandon, has, as it turned out, been scary. It's had the potential to hurt me, to cut me to my core, to take away what I love, to take away the connections that help me define myself, the ones that help me find meaning. What about you? I bet every single one of you has found yourself looking up into the face of the dragon. How shall we then reconcile the reality that we live with fear, and with the knowledge that if we are to truly love, we must find a way to dare to live, dare to love, dare to dream, even though there are days when the possibility of loss and longing seems so overwhelming? How do we imagine starting a new day when the inevitable path we will take will lead us right to the mouth of the dragon's cave? Fear is natural. There are times when it renders us paralyzed. There are times when we can't imagine how we will survive it. But I know that the times in my life when I've managed to move forward in spite of my fears, my fear of failure, my fear of success, fear of starting, fear of loss, fear of pain, and sometimes even fear of fear, when I have managed to move forward, it is because I have understood, as Yitzhak reflected, because I've understood in my terms who or what was inviting me to come to Pharaoh. I have dared to step forward into the unknown, to step forward to the edge of the cliff, to the mouth of the dragon's cave, when I knew who I traveled with, who loved me, who had my back, and with what greater purpose or entity I was aligned. Who do you come with? I don't imagine you'd answer the question in the same way I would. I believe we've each got to figure this one out on our own. Sorry, I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer here, but I have some hunches. What do you feel most connected to? What gives your life meaning? Where is the home of your soul? And when we find that something, that sense of who we are, of where we belong, an understanding of our place in the world, in the wonder, we will have found, I think, at least the start of the answer to the question, who do you come with? What makes it possible for you as an individual or us collectively to do the next scary thing? To steady our breathing and to move forward even when our primitive brain is yelling, stop. As I've thought about my personal answer to the question, who do you go with, I realize my answer is fundamentally a simple one. For me, the answer has always been some version of a single word: love. I've dared to let my children venture into the world because I love them and the potential that they embodied. I've dared to find my way back into right relationship with my spouse, with my parents, with my friends, with myself, when I've been hurt and afraid of being hurt because of love. When Gary and I have lost jobs, when illness and great losses have befallen our family, when we didn't know how things would turn out, love has come with me. Love has prevented me from climbing into bed and staying there. Love of community and the potential of our Unitarian Universalist tradition challenged me to face the fears that accompanied my decision at age 50 to begin the journey to ministry. Love has accompanied me, has come with me when I was afraid. There have, of course, been times when I couldn't, at least at first, remember that I had love with me. The fear has at times been so great that other possibilities have been hard, almost impossible to see. But I've been lucky. When I get it right, it's because I go with love. And so I ask again, who do you go with? You, personally. What made it possible for you to get out of bed today, or for the folks online to turn on your computer and be part of this congregation here today? I said I realized that my response was simple, but it's not easy. They aren't the same thing. And I know that not all endings are happily ever after. The fire-breathing dragon of fear can at times be more than we can face. And certainly it's at times almost impossible to face alone. Rallying your ally, whether it be love or a cause or God or anything else, doesn't mean that your ending will be a happy one. And yet time and time again, in myths across cultures, people and communities have been able to live in spite of, sometimes alongside of, dragons, though some of us have wounds and singed edges. So today, when you set forth to face whatever dragons you may meet, dig deep, grab your human card, and remind yourself who you've come with. Knowing the answer won't make the journey an easy one, but it might make it possible. Let us take a few breaths in silent reflection.